Welcome to Design. Good evening. I am Vivian Toh. Joining me this evening is Jason Chin, the CEO of IACT College, and Alicia Benoy, the program leader of IACT College. And later on the show, I will be speaking to a special guest. He is Ko Liming from the Graphic Design Association of Malaysia. Now, we would like to speak to Jason and Alicia on a very important topic that we would like to focus on. What they think the educational institutions must do to make job-ready graduates in filling up the employment gap. Now, Jason, who is the IACT College CEO, spent 25 years in the corporate sector. He decided to bring his knowledge and experience into the education line. He also helped develop young talent for the creative communication industry. Now, he presently is the CEO of IACT College, jointly owned by the Association of Accredited Advertising Agents and Malaysian Advertisers Association. Now, the 4As and MAA are the two largest advertising associations in Malaysia. Previously a marketing director of Kraft Foods Malaysia and Danone Malaysia, he is responsible for leading and driving their marketing strategy and campaigns nationwide. Also, the business group manager of Unilever Malaysia to set up the industry benchmarks and to win awards for innovative and dynamic integrated marketing campaigns. Now, let's take a look at the credentials of Alicia Benoy, who is the program leader of IACT College. Now, she is very involved in the formation of the degree program for the Bachelors of Advertising and Design that is in collaboration with the University of Sunderland, UK. Now, being an advertising industry professional before with teaching experiences of 7 years, Alicia also has over 20 years of experience in mainstream media advertising, event marketing, direct marketing, and digital media. Alicia has also won awards for advertising campaigns, namely the Country Awards 1997, winning 1 bronze and 4 merits for Visa International TV campaign. Wow. Now, for the Direct Marketing Association of Malaysia Award 1999, Alicia won merit for HSBC Power Vantage campaign. Being previously from the creative agency as a contract basis senior art director, she then moved on to teaching as a lecturer in visual communication department and Raffles Design Institute in Singapore. Now, she was also a senior art director at both Euro RSCG Malaysia and Bates 141. But for now, she is passionate about bringing the students together in helping them to have better understanding of the creative industry. How does she does that? She guides students through their academic training with her wealth of industry knowledge. Good evening, Alicia and Jason. Well, that's a long credential.
Good evening,
Thank
Vivian.
you for being here with me. It's very important tonight because we will be talking about what both of you, from your own perspective, what you think educational institutions must do to make job-ready graduates in filling up the employment gap. Now, how did you end up in the education line? Why the jump?
Yes, Vivian, I've always often been asked this question these days. I suppose after 25 years in the industry, and I've spent a lot of my time during those years trying to nurture and train up young people, yeah. So it seems that it is a passion of mine. So I thought, if I look at what is actually happening in the industry these days, there's been too many jobs chased by the same few people. There's been a lot of recycling of talent. So I thought, why not, make my own little contribution, out at the education industry and maybe leave a little legacy and train up young blood so that we can, generate more fresh minds into this industry, because we need that, right, to bring innovation back into the industry. Otherwise, things can get a bit stale with too much recycling of talent.
Why do you think there is a need to be involved in the education line now?
Because if you talk about trying to get graduates to be job ready, right? Today is different. It's no longer, that classical teaching of classrooms and notes and chalk and board. You need to bring a lot of realism, to these students so that they can actually understand what it is like out in the real world to do a real job. yeah, and it starts in college, not only the day you graduate and when you walk into your job. And to be able to do that, right, you do need a good mix, yeah, of lecturers who can bring a lot of theory to the students, but also a lot of industrial specialists who can add a lot of value and coach and facilitate these students so that they understand what it is like to do, the job when they're out there. So can you imagine a graduate who goes out, day one into the job, and instead of walking around feeling absolutely blur about what to do and not get into people's way, and they're able to run with the ball? That's really cool, I think, for young people of today particularly, yeah?
Now, hearing from you, I sense a bit of frustration coming from that actually inspire you, that wants you to move forward and make a change. Now, Alicia, I want to ask you, what about you? Why do you think there is a need for a jump from the corporate line to education?
Coincidentally, I totally agree with Jason. I mean, although from a completely different background, I was from the agency, but I felt the same. So eventually, when I was a senior art director, I started mentoring the juniors coming into the agency, and I felt a change in the readiness in them. A lot of them don't seem to already know what to do or even what to expect of the industry. And then that's when I started having this thought that if I'm here trying to mentor them when they already graduated, would it be even better if I were to be on the other side to start mentoring them before they even got out of college? And eventually, when the calling came, I just made the decision to join IACT. Well, obviously started off as a part-timer first.
When Jason said that graduates need to be job ready, can you share with us, what do you mean by being job ready? Can a qualification alone be able to make them job ready?
I think actually this is an interesting question. If you look at, the Education Ministry, they have recently released data that we have 175,000 graduates, and 25% of them, after 6 months, are still looking for a job. So it's not about the quantity and the number of graduates that you generate into the marketplace. It's about the quality. So that's what we mean by job ready. You can't go out there and wave a piece of paper and say that, hey, I have a degree or a qualification, a paper qualification, so therefore I'm good now to do the job. Unless you prepare them, they are not going to be ready by themselves, right? And when I first joined IACT College, for instance, I was actually quite delighted to actually see what was happening in the classrooms, right? Because we do a pedagogy called project-based learning. So this is where the students get a brief, and a lot of times they are real live brief, yeah, from real clients, yeah, who works with the college to fit into the curriculum. And with this brief, they will do the clarification, then they will go out there and do the research. Then they will come. Usually they work as a group, as typically, what happens in an agency and client relationship, right? And with that ideation, then they, of course, this is with a lot of coaching and facilitation, yeah, from the lecturers who are, like I said, a mixture of, lecturers and also industrial specialists. And what they will do when they are ready at the end of the, the project, they will go back and present back to the clients who gave them the brief in the first place. So these clients will actually give them feedback, just like real clients out there, right? Whether they think it's a good job, or if it's so good that they may actually implement some of this. So when I saw that, I go like, wow, this is really what we brand people and agency people do out there in real life, So I said, that is exactly what we need to do to get, graduates to be job ready. So can you imagine these graduates when they go out there, day one, they already know how it all works.
Well,
yeah?
Having said that, you have the opportunity to assess the potentials of students who are with you at IACT College. Now, which spectrum would you want to be on? Do you think there is a really good potential, in terms of being a student? Is there, do they have potentials in this? How do you assess that?
In what context do you mean?
Okay.
Assessing the quality of...
The quality of students, being lecturers and having been in the education line for a long time now, you are able to assess the works of the students, and through real life job experience as well. Okay, let's put it this way. We do know that students have their weaknesses and strengths. Through this process, what do you think that they should improve on further?
I think if you look at the Alicia, I remember, the ministry actually released, 3 critical areas where they feel why a lot of these graduates are not employable, right? Sometimes it's due to lack of technical skills. I think the critical one that they actually brought up is about language proficiency and the ability to articulate, right? Because when you are out there in the real world, unless you are able to say what you mean and mean what you say, it's going to be very difficult, for you to convince people that you can do a job and that you're going to do a great job. So I think this is what we tend to do, right? In part of the process, you actually train your students to present, to be able to articulate. Yeah, maybe you want to share a bit more.
Skill of communication. It's true that if you have an idea and you cannot communicate, it's pointless. But even before that, critical thinking is really, really important.
Now, we haven't yet really tackled that question where it is important to have the thinking. Now, how will it, by going through process, learning a different kind of learning process at IACT College, where practical skills or the skill sets are more important than to complement the theories that they would learn. How would it affect their performance when they go into the working world?
Absolutely, because you were saying that practical skills, right? Actually, practical skills and critical thinking goes hand in hand. If you look at what is actually happening in a lot of classical, knowledge institution, right? That means you basically cascade or dissipate a lot of info and data to students these days. But particularly, students today are the Gen Y, right? They don't need you to do that, right? Because imagine if I ask you something that you don't know today, what would you do, right? You pick up your smartphone and you Google and you get, voila. You get the information. In fact, too often it's information, overload, right? But what is more important is how do you utilize that knowledge? How do you apply that information? And that's what, Alicia means by critical thinking. And through the project-based learning and through these projects, that's how you are actually able to make that critical thinking, because it's from practical and applying that knowledge that into real projects. And that's how you train, students into critical thinking.
It's pretty much a problem-solving process.
Okay. In a minute's time, we're going to take a short break. But before that, I would like to know, being job ready, it's a really good thing to get the graduates to be job ready. Can you tell us where are the IACT College alumni attached to now? Can you give us an example? Where are they now?
Wow, I think they are everywhere, actually. If you think about your agencies, I suppose a lot of them
I have personally met some of my ex-students when I was doing contract in some of the agencies. I'm actually quite happy to see them there getting a good job, and practically their dream job. They looked for it and they got it. So, and maybe it's some in media agencies and even in broadcasting.
This is good news to be happy when you know that your students have become graduates and then they get good jobs and they are happy with what they're doing. Coming back, we are going to take a short break, and when we come back, we will have Jason and Alicia to tell us more about the program of that they are doing with the University of Sunderland, right? Which is the bachelor's degree in advertising and design. Yes, this is Designed on Bernama Radio24. This is Designed. I'm Vivian Toh, and I am with Jason Chin, CEO of IACT College, and Alicia Benoy, Program Leader of IACT, talking about what educational institutions must do to make job-ready graduates in filling up the employment gap. Now, earlier on, we were talking about the importance of being job-ready in the creative industry, and we did touch on the program a little bit on that. Now let's get into the facts or the importance really what the program is about. How is your Bachelor in Advertising and Design unique from other programs offered in town, say, or in the country?
Yeah, sure. I think there are a lot of degrees out there, that do advertising or design, right? Maybe if we go back to, why this particular program has been launched, right? It's actually arise from a need. Because we work with the 4As and the MA group, right? And a lot of times you find that we have a lot of people who do design, for example. They can draw. They're very good at creative. But then you can't do creative in a vacuum, right? You have to do it to meet needs, for branding needs, for example. So to be able to do that, you need to be able to conceptualize, a lot of the creative work to the brand proposition of your clients, right? Because at the end, it's about branding. It's about the communication message that your clients or the brand need to, put out there into the marketplace to talk to their consumers. So that's why we realize that besides training people to do the drawing part or the creative design part, we also need to, make sure that they are knowledgeable enough to understand the concepts so that they are able to do work that is relevant. Yeah. Alicia, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely what we are looking for. Because this program, I think I dare to say is the first of its kind in Malaysia, because it combines these two very important elements, which is critical thinking as well as the design element, which you would learn a skill to put your ideas into visuals. And we would also, because I went to Sunderland earlier this year to meet up with the university people, and they're pretty much on the same page. We do agree that even in the UK, in the same pattern of running the industry is critical thinking, problem solving, and because we are doing for the brand, we're not doing for our own self-indulgence. So it does have to sell an idea. It does have to sell the brand. So and over there, they really encourage students to work in a real agency kind of an environment. Good to see.
Well, brand aside.
Yeah.
Brand aside, how do you see the student experience being enhanced through this program in terms of quality? Mm-hmm. What would you see will make a difference after taking up this course?
Well, they would learn more than what a pure design course students learn, which is to say the brand positioning, really understanding what it is. So to be able to see a brand like a person, and not just a pattern on a piece of paper. It's not just a pretty picture, but it will come to life, hopefully.
And also, I think the opportunities for these graduates, encompasses a broader perspective than just in creative work.
Yes.
I suppose they can do creative, they can
do strategy. They can
yeah.
even be account management. Because it's more of a 360 angle of looking at the industry, so you're not restricted to just one department.
Great. What are we talk about that students, when they take up a design course, means that they will start from ground zero, maybe a junior graphic designer. Now, what job opportunities are out there for those taking on the program of advertising and design? Yes.
Maybe before we actually go into this particular design, let me share some facts. Yeah?
Sure.
If you look at the recent Job Street data that was released, right, under the creative communication job scope, right, that is the biggest chunk of jobs out in the market at the moment. Yeah, it's about 15%, which is the biggest segment. I know it's very unusual because most of us are classically being trained, when we grow up, that our parents want us to go and either do law or engineering or, medicine, or accountancy. So a lot of people don't understand, that actually there's a lot of opportunities in the creative communication area. So that will answer the question as to, what in terms of the opportunities that are out there.
Yeah, the jobs are definitely there, but it's just that are there the right talents or enough right talents to fill in these gaps? And So I did do some research on the job street and other job sites that I noticed most of the creative jobs, if it's of a higher level, they do require a conceptualization skills as well as an execution skill. So without any, you can't really fill that position.
Mm-hmm. Now, Jason, you have touched on creative communication. Now, IACT College is Malaysia's creative communication specialist. Would you define a bit more? What do you mean by creative communication?
Yeah, sure. I think rather than going to all the jobs in the creative communication, perhaps if I, bundle them for you, right? The creative portion is very much in terms of things that you do in advertising, the principles, the concepts, and design work as well, yeah? Because whatever you are selling out there in terms of branding to consumers, you need, all this work to be done, yeah, so that you can actually do the marketing communications. And besides that, also today there's a lot of innovative media, right? I mean, if you look at it, yeah, besides the traditional TV, radio, there's a huge space now out there in social media and the digital world. So all these are encompassing in the creative communication area. Yep. And I think actually the other area that, Vivian, since you brought this up, it's becoming even more borderless if you look at it, right? Because if you look at the ASEAN region and you look at communication campaigns that are out there today, it's no longer about only Malaysia for Malaysian consumption. So a lot of these campaigns are actually used across ASEAN particularly because we share very similar demographics and psychographics to some extent, right? So therefore they can cross borders. So the Malaysian work can actually be, seen particularly in ASEAN, for instance. So therefore I think it creates even more exciting opportunities for our young people, that is graduating and going into this industry. Yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Now, I would like to get a bit of input from both of you, Alicia and Jason, about internships. Now, I do know that education institutions of higher learning, they encourage students to take up internship programs after they finish the course. Mm-hmm. Now, what do you find? Is there a problem to it or an issue, or should they actually start from the very beginning of the course?
For us, we actually don't encourage them to do after the course. It is a core model. So for a set 14 weeks, they do have to go out and find an agency or a company and work for 3 months straight and come back with a report. That is mandatory.
Vivian has actually touched on something that is I'm very passionate about.
Tell us about it.
What happens is, a lot of places, they think that, after you have been through your course for 2 to 3 years, you go out there and do a 3 months internship and that makes you job ready. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think that's definitely not the case. Yeah. 3 months in itself doesn't, make you into a job ready graduate. It's more important that it's holistic. That means in that whole teaching and learning methodology, yeah, and the outcome of the learning. So therefore, the pedagogy of, the commitment to do project-based learning is actually very important. Not every institution is prepared to do it because you have to put in a lot of resource because classes are very small. Yeah, you can't pack a class to say that, if I have 40 students, I have one lecture. If I pack them into 100 students, I still have that one lecturer. It doesn't work like that. It works in small groups because, the lecturers act as a facilitator and coach. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so therefore, it is actually more than just an internship. I think it's about the, the holistic learning experience for that student when he or she is in college. Yeah, and that's what contribute to, a job-ready graduate, really.
Mm. So we are talking about giving a more holistic, approach, giving a holistic approach towards education, which in turn will somehow, in a way, groom the students to be job ready, and then it will be able to fill up the employment gap, right? What do you think of? So let's talk about some last words. What must institutions do to ensure that they stay relevant? In terms of, IACT College is in the education industry, and whatever that is done or has to be done needs to be catered to what's going on in the market, the trends.
Yeah, maybe I can kick off and Alicia can, share her thoughts. I think as we said today, particularly for Gen Y, and also learning methodologies have changed, and to make them job ready, besides giving them theory and classical teaching, information, you also need to engage a lot of industry specialists into your college and into your teaching human resource, right? So that you bring realism and job perspective, into the classroom. So that's what we mean by that's how we get them ready over the 2 to 3 years. Yeah, it's not just that 3 months internship.
Yeah, but by doing so, meaning our curriculum and whatever information that we give to the student will be kept most up to date, as up to date as possible, and that is again down to our connection with the industry and network, and some of them also come from our peers.
Yeah,
that's a really interesting input from Jason Chin, CEO of IACT College, and Alicia Benoy, Program Leader of IACT College. I thank you very much for being here to share with us on your thoughts on what educational institutions must do to make job-ready graduates in filling up the employment gap